Welcome to this explainer on the anatomy of a classic, Maze featuring Frankie Beverly's We Are One. Look, if you've been to literally any family cookout, reunion, or block party in the last 40 years, you already know the exact groove playing in your head right now. But today, we're doing more than just nodding our heads to a classic. We're going to systematically break down exactly why this 1983 masterpiece has locked itself in as an immortal cultural staple. We're unpacking the actual architecture of its legendary staying power. There is an incredibly powerful thought that perfectly captures the magic here. Some songs age, this one settles. Think about that distinction for a second. When something ages, it kind of becomes a fading relic, right? Stuck in its specific era. But when something settles, it takes root. It becomes foundational. And We Are One has undeniably settled deep into the bedrock of our cultural fabric, claiming permanent real estate in those communal spaces where real life actually happens. You can actually map this settling process across time. It kicks off with the release back in 1983. But zoom in, and it occupies the hours, the slow, hazy drift of a summer afternoon, where someone always finds the absolute perfect moment to press play. Zoom out, and it scales up to the years, maintaining this constant, expected heartbeat at annual family reunions. And now, it stretches across 4 entire decades. It's built an unbroken 40-year line connecting generations. So why does it endure so consistently? To figure that out, we have to immediately toss out the easiest, most common assumption people make about older music. We've got to reject the nostalgia trap. It is so easy to just assume we love this track because it reminds us of the good old days or childhood summers. But honestly, this staying power is absolutely not an accident, and nostalgia is definitely not doing the heavy lifting here. See, nostalgia can actually be kind of lazy. It has this habit of latching onto anything familiar and arbitrarily calling it meaningful, just because we've heard it before. If We Are One were riding purely on nostalgia, its magic would fade the second those memories did. To survive this long, its endurance requires a much more rigorous explanation than just warm, fuzzy feelings from the past. What Maze built here is fundamentally different. This track doesn't just survive on the forgiving lens of memory. It holds up under intense, unyielding scrutiny. Even if you completely stripped away the memories of the paper plates, the summer heat, and the family reunions, the core architecture of this song is completely indestructible. So, what exactly did they build to make it that way? Let's look at the craft of the groove. We're moving past the cultural weight for a second to examine the actual musical craftsmanship, the literal nuts and bolts of the sound itself. It all comes down to a few precise, beautifully poetic components. First off, Frankie Beverly's vocals. There is an ease there that takes decades to earn. No strain, and he's never reaching for an emotion he hasn't already lived. Then you've got this warm groove you can walk right into, like a room you already know. Add in a rhythm section that never chases and never overplays, it just holds you, and a pristine production that somehow manages to sound completely effortless. The whole thing is a meticulously crafted statement, completely masquerading as a casual jam. But as flawless as that musical craft is, the secret to the song's survival goes even deeper. We have to talk about the power of plain truth. The instrumental is really just a vehicle for a lyrical philosophy that cuts through the noise of its era, and honestly, every era since. Think about typical early 80s music. That was an era heavily defined by performance, image, and intense posturing. You had artists selling unity as this abstract concept, or wrapping complex politics inside shimmering pop hooks just to make them palatable. But We Are One completely flips the script. Frankie Beverly is not posturing. He is stating a fact, plainly, with zero apology and zero ornamentation. The lyrics literally mean exactly what they say.
He isn't trying to sell you a complex worldview or some heavily debated political stance. He is delivering an absolute, unconditional truth. We are one. No asterisk, no conditions attached. In a musical landscape obsessed with being clever, edgy, or deeply metaphorical, there is an immense, undeniable power in just telling the plain truth without dressing it up.
And that incredible directness actually redefines what a true feel-good anthem is supposed to do. It prioritizes recognition over inspiration, turning passive listening into a deeply active experience.
Most songs about togetherness ask you to believe something new. They rely heavily on inspiration. But you know how it is. Inspiration is fleeting. It fades the second the music stops. We Are One doesn't ask you to believe anything new. Instead, it triggers a deep recognition of something you already know, but just keep forgetting. There is a massive difference between trying to temporarily inspire someone and locking them into a lasting state of recognition. We Are One has always been the latter.
Which brings us to this incredible realization. 40 decades later, the song still sounds like Frankie Beverly believes every single word. That earned ease in his voice, the complete rejection of posturing, the absence of unlived emotion, it all culminates in this overwhelming sense of absolute conviction. He believes it down to his core. And because he believes it so completely, when that unhurried groove starts playing, we believe it too. Nostalgia isn't carrying this song, the truth is. So the next time those opening notes drift across a summer afternoon gathering, I want you to ask yourself, if a piece of art strips away the posture, ignores the lazy trap of nostalgia, and just tells you the plain, unconditioned truth, do we really have any choice but to believe it?